We got YouTube going, as far as I can tell. Let's view the channel here, make sure. Okay, so this is the myth of the Black Panther, and I'm going to talk about how they've been represented in films over these last, various years since the end of the Black Panther. They've obviously been a cultural icon. We've known that about the Black Panthers. They represented a lot. My first memories of the Black Panthers was as a kid. I'm coming out of that generation. I'm Gen X. So we were definitely like being influenced by the Black Panthers, right? So I'm going to put this right here. This is all about Black Panther movies, okay? So let's just kind of click into this. I got some information I wanted to share with you guys. Let me go ahead and get this started up here.
With content oversight.
Okay.
Black Panther Party, film depictions and references. Chronological reference list. 1969, medium cool. Director-writer, Haskell Wexler. White American, Hollywood cinematographer turned director. No affiliation with the Black Panther Party or black political movements. Foundational Black American involvement, none in authorship or...
So you see right out the gates, this is 1969. The Panthers really were in their height during the late 60s. Coming in the 70s, by this time, Black Panthers are already kind of being infiltrated at a heavy scale. And so we see right off the gate, the first depiction in media, in this culture, about the Black Panthers is already being caught by people who are not of the culture, right? So they're already telling you right there, this is not going to be a cultural film. You guys aren't going to get a lot of cultural films out of this.
Or narrative control. State institutional alignment. Mainstream Hollywood production, embedded press-style perspective. Production funding, Paramount Pictures. Depiction, Black Panthers appear during protest footage as part of urban unrest, framed through the perspective of a white television cameraman.
So we can imagine how this is already going to be problematic in that respect that, people outside of the culture instantly are setting the tone for the culture. And that starts to be pretty problematic. Like, right off the bat, outside we know it's going to be a problem. Instantly are setting the tone. We've seen this narrative before. When you let someone else talk about your culture, you typically don't get what you want in terms of how your culture ultimately gets presented. So let me go on to the next one here. I want to keep this going. It's a nice little list here, guys. So bear with me.
1971, Sweet Sweetback's Barda song. Director, writer, star, Melvin Van Peebles. Foundational Black American.
Now, if you don't know about Melvin Van Peebles, this guy is legit, man. This guy, it's harder to find someone who's more down with black people than Melvin Van Peebles. Let me see if I can find some info. Van Peebles. Let's see. Panther. So this dude was down. Like, this is one of the earliest directors. You can see by his age. He was contemporary for this time period. This film comes out. He's going to have great understanding of what the culture really was all about and the input of Black Americans from the party. You can see it says that Black Panther environment was publicly supported and promoted by the Black Panthers. So right off the gate, we're seeing a big pushback. Melvin Van Peebles, because of what he's been in the community, he's unimpeachable when we talk about his connection to the actual community. Like what Melvin Van Peebles actually meant to the Black Panthers and the black community, man, he's certified, right? He's 100% certified. So this is one of the earliest depictions that of the Black Panthers I think was a good depiction because of where it was coming from, whose insights were being put into the movies, and who they actually cared about when they were coming, and who funded it, right? Where your movies get funded at says a lot about ultimately what the project's going to be able to do, how far it can go, how far it has to pull back.
Foundational Black American involvement, complete creative control.
Yeah, that matters.
State institutional alignment, none. Produced outside state or studio systems.
Very important.
Black Panther Party involvement, publicly supported and promoted by the Black Panther Party.
Super important right now because we know that with this film, we're getting what the Black Panthers intended us to get as far as what the messages are about the Black Panthers.
Production funding, independently financed by Melvin Van Peebles, loan from Bill Cosby.
That's interesting. I would not have thought, but yeah, Bill Cosby was a contemporary at this time. I don't, I never heard Bill Cosby talk about the Panthers. I never heard him say anything, but obviously he was allowing his dollars to speak in what he deemed as important representation. So I know that his image would be heavily tainted, deservedly. But we can kind of see where the funding had to come from for a film by Melvin Van Peebles. And you see, even as an old dude, he's still a G, man, and he'll have a later impact on how we talk about the Panthers. But this is an important film at this time. We're coming fresh out of the Panthers as their gates were closing, and this is them actually still having a voice in who they were. And this might be one of the last ones, right? That it's really them putting forth that message.
Distributed by Cinemation Industries. Depiction, radical black resistance and self-defense, not a Panther story by name, but ideologically aligned with Panther politics. 1972, Across 110th Street. Director, Barry Shear. White American.
So again, that's interesting that, you already, this is Across 110th Street was very much a film about black culture. And one of the things is having directors who don't understand that they don't have the nuances of a film. But I'll let the rest of this play out so we can really analyze like what we're seeing in terms of the myth of who the Black Panthers were and maybe why we have these perceptions of them now. And I'm going to pull some things out of this.
Writer, Luther Davis. White American. Foundational Black American involvement, none in authorship, black actors only. State institutional alignment. Crime film tradition aligned with law and order narratives of the early 1970s.
So again, this is a film that, they're going to paint the Black Panthers more in line with criminal activity. They're not going to talk about them going out and starting, lunch services, things like that. So again, we have to be very cautious, but this is kind of where the mythology of the Black Panthers is coming from.
Production funding, United Artists. Depiction, black militancy and armed struggle appear only within a criminal framework, detached from political ideology. 1993.
Now this is a long time before we see another, depiction of the Panthers. I think there'll be some TV shows, and I may go back and talk about that, but like what we're really seeing is this big gap in the representation of the Panthers, and right out the gate, it was basically being muddled from the beginning, right? This is kind of a media narrative about who the Black Panthers were. But this film right here that's about to come out, let me pull this up. This is one of my favorite flicks. It's, this is one of my favorite flicks, man. If you're in tune with the director, this is Rusty Cundiff. This is the cover here. Like, this was kind of a groundbreaking film in the sense that it was heavily about the culture, right? Like, this was all about, hip hop and like an early look at hip hop. This is 1993. He does have a small, kind of a reference to the Black Panthers, and that comes, and it's not in a good way. Like, I actually kind of struggle with it because he shows that side of it, like that black militant side. For his depiction, it's kind of performative, right? Like, it's more like a costume that these guys are putting on, and so we kind of turn that into a caricature. And I kind of, now that I'm looking at it, and I still love the film, I still love the director. I know this dude's down. I'm struggling with how I saw him being, how he depicted, that militant black man in this particular film. But overall, I still very high on this guy. I still watch his films. If I met him right now, man, I'd be like, wow, you're a great director. So that's kind of how I feel about this dude. But let's move on.
Fear of a Black Hat. Director-writer, Rusty Cundiff. Foundational Black American. Foundational Black American involvement, writer and director.
That's again, FBA. This is a dude who is 100% involved in the community, and what his depiction of, like I said, I'm not against it, but I'm more trusting of this brother because I understand he is from the community as well.
State institutional alignment, none direct, satire produced within commercial entertainment structures. Production funding, Oakwood Films. Distributed by the Samuel Goldwyn Company. Depiction, satirical portrayal of militant black political imagery and rhetoric, treating revolutionary language as performance.
That's kind of where and we've seen it. Like, we've seen it in various films that would go on. That persona is a character now, but we kind of have to deal with it. And like I said, this is a brother I know is down, but that does give me a side eye.
1994, Forrest Gump.
odd thing, right? This is odd that we would see a depiction of the Black Panthers in Forrest Gump film. This movie does obviously is not about the Black Panthers. It's about it's a kind of a time capsule film, and that happens to be accurately so. Part of the narrative would have been the Black Panthers. All that was wrapped into Vietnam and all the stuff that Forrest was showing is not lost on me that Forrest's best friend was Bubba, right? Like so he's got some elements to like who he chose to befriend. Now overall, this film is massively impactful in terms of how the media or people would view the Black Panthers afterwards. This is one of the most, like, shockingly so. For the 90s, we weren't getting a lot of depictions of the Black Panthers in this fashion. And so this is one of the most accurate, or, one of the most notable, because I think a lot of audience saw it. Yeah, obviously it's a huge film. So its reach was epic. And deservedly so. All these awards and honors. And if you watch that film, that was a lot of people getting their only, like, feed in for the Black Panthers was through this movie.
Director Robert Zemeckis. White American. Writer Eric Roth. White American. Source material novel by Winston Groom. White American. Former U.S.
Everything that they're saying about the Panthers, the director, the writer, and the source material, none of them have actually anything to do. So you're always going to get somebody's interpretation of what these people were instead of understanding who they actually were. And let me see. Forrest Gump, Black Panther Party. Yeah, this is Forrest Gump at the and he famously says, "I'm sorry for breaking up your Black Panther Party. Sorry I had a fight in the middle of your Black Panther Party." It does kind of show some things because, again, that foul person, Jenny, obviously ended up there because the dude that she was messing with was there. And he was abusive to her. And of course, anyone who's ever taken shots at the Panthers have talked about the misogynistic elements of the Panthers. I don't know if that's what the director and the writer were trying to tie into that. But, after Forrest beat that ass, nobody jumped in to defend Jenny's boyfriend, right? So I don't know how people outside of it viewed the Panthers after that, where they were like, okay, we're gonna shun somebody who is a woman abuser or not. But we do know that Forrest Gump firmly got into that ass, and the Panthers didn't like rally for the dude. So I'm not sure what to fully make out of it, but that's the depiction that they gave us, and I think that's kind of when you got when your writing team, your creative team, your directorial team are all sided to one side outside of the culture. This is kind of the best that you can hope for.
Military officer. Foundational Black American involvement, none.
Yeah.
State institutional alignment. Strong alignment with American liberal nationalist narrative, Cold War, era reconciliation framework. Production funding, Paramount Pictures.
So,
depiction, Black Panthers portrayed briefly as hostile, aggressive, and anti-white, without political context or explanation.
Yeah.
1995, Panther. Director, Mario Van...
Yeah, and this is another one. This is obviously Melvin Van Peebles got us off, right? So this is Mario Van Peebles, his son, right? So he's legit, and I know about his connection to, the community. He's 100% down. I don't always like his films, but I never question his intent. And this one, I did watch this one too, and it was a decent flick, man. And obviously here's him with his pops, right? So we're at this stage where somebody's trying to go back into it. Now the thing that's different, and we'll get to the rest of the specs on the movie, but there's him and his legendary father, like doing what they do, representing the culture, like stand down 100%. And still he was working through, let me just play the rest of the clip, because like how he had to work was under different circumstances than what his father had to endure, who was funded by the Panthers and
Foundational Black American. Writer, Mario Van Peebles.
Solid.
Foundational Black American. Creative influence, Melvin Van Peebles.
Again, 100%
Foundational
down.
Black American.
So we know
Foundational Black American involvement, director, writer, producer, and cast.
This matters.
State institutional alignment.
history.
Studio-funded production with content oversight. Production funding, Gramercy Pictures Polygram Filmed Entertainment. Depiction, fictionalized portrayal of the Black Panther Party using composite characters and condensed events.
This is 100% true. Like, they really compacted it. So this is a lot more like a Hollywood movie. I think it starts off with really good intent. I think they have some good actors in here. And while I may feel a little mixed, I feel overall like this is a very positive movie. I feel like this was kind of spinning the Black Panthers into who they were. The challenges that they actually were up against during that period of time was amazing, was very powerful. These are very brave men, and I think we get that depiction coming out of this film.
1996, Get on the Bus. Director, Spike Lee. Foundational Black American. Writer, Reggie Rock Bythewood. Foundational Black American. Foundational Black American involvement, full creative leadership.
Now, obviously, anytime, I don't love every Spike movie, but just most of them, just because Spike's down. Like, I know where Spike's heart is at whenever he jumps on a project like this. And this film is not heavily focused on the Panthers in any way. I'm going to pull up some images of, just so we have them. Get on the butt. I can't type. Just so we have them. But, this was all about these guys making their way to the Million Man March. Best film. It's all about, all these brothers making their way to the Million Man March. And along the way, all these conversations, like they're able to have all these historical conversations about, what was going on with black culture. This is not that long, right? I think the time at the time that this film comes out, I'm creeping towards adulthood, so this is for my generation, one of the first, like, as an adult, seeing people talking about the Panthers. And they show a lot of diversity in this flick, but it's just a part. You can see you got the Muslim references. You got, like, the full kind of scale of, the brothers getting down in this film. So Spike Lee, another good film. Obviously not as fully, as much as he would want it to be, but I feel like we get a message of the Panthers that's more historical than what we had gotten previously, right? So let's kind of keep the list rolling here.
State institutional alignment. Studio partnership but black-owned production company. Production funding, Columbia Pictures, 40 Acres and a Mule Filmworks. Depiction, references to black political movements, including the Panthers, as part of broader black political dialogue. 2001, a Huey P. Newton story. Director, Spike Lee. Foundational Black American. Writer-performer, Roger Genver Smith. Foundational Black American. Foundational Black American involvement, complete authorship and performance control.
See, again, another important film. And Spike, man, this is why they don't let you on the inside of Hollywood, Spike. Because you stay on the outside, but you stay representing to the fullest, right? So I watched this film. This was about Huey P. And obviously just a very, very powerful, depiction, man. I think it's 2001, Spike Lee, Huey P. Newton. See if I can pull this up. I remember. The cover. It was very powerful because this is the first time that I felt like we were getting a story like from them as being people who love their community, were very protective. So we're seeing still, we see that resistance back. We see the community pushing back with their own or stories about them. But we're looking at the larger picture of how the Panthers have been depicted throughout history, especially since they're in. I think that matters now when we look at, various people picking up the culture and picking up elements or understanding of the Black Panthers and what they actually did.
State institutional alignment, none. Production funding, 40 Acres and a Mule Filmworks, stars. Depiction, stage adaptation presenting Huey P. Newton's political philosophy and life in first-person form. 2015, The Black Panthers, Vanguard of the Revolution. Director-writer, Stanley Nelson Jr.
2015. I don't remember this one. I haven't had a chance to check out myself. Let's see. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I see. This is not like the Black Panthers T'Challa. This is obviously a whole different take on the Panthers. But yeah, this is something I'm gonna have to come correct on, and kind of get a real feel for what it's like. Because I can't say I know
Foundational
the movie
Black
very well.
American. Foundational Black American involvement, director, writer, and production leadership. State institutional alignment. Public broadcasting framework, archival access model. Production funding, Firelight Films, PBS Independent Lens, ITVS.
This is why we never heard of it. You can see where it's at, but it's okay. They got the film made, so we have to be happy about that.
Depiction, documentary history of the Black Panther Party, including programs, internal conflict, and state repression.
Yeah, I mean, those are important things. I think talking about the programs that they did, I think were far more defining about the Panthers than anything else. So this will be more documentary style. I think this is very important for people to understand who the Panthers really were. I think in a documentary like this, I'll have to check this one out to kind of give my review. But we see like there's still like the Panthers are still, this is 2015, and the Panthers are still being like defined. They're still such a hot topic because of the impact that they had previously.
2018, Black Panther. Director, Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, now we get into something crazy here because, and let me say that I love Ryan Coogler, right? Ryan Coogler, Black Panther. So obviously, I love Ryan Coogler. I think he's a great actor. Excuse me, I think he's a great director. And he's down for the community in a lot of ways, right? We really don't have to question how down he is for black people. Now, this is the problem that I have with the Black Panthers movie overall. And I think it's a great character, and I love T'Challa, and I'm a big Marvel Comics guy growing up as a kid. So I did read this. But we do have to be honest, is what they were doing was leveraging, as Americans or as black Americans, that association with this political group. They did emotionally hijack us just in that regard. So the films are great, but again, you get the emotional energy that you can kind of use to tell whatever story you want. And this was never a story about, what the source was. We didn't really get to the source on any of this. We kind of reframed it as this heroic African culture. Really, at the root of the Black Panthers movement was about black people here. So it never touches on that. It gives us something different, but it's always, you got to be cautious, because why would Marvel Comics want to give, this community any kind of true lens? So, we're still kind of seeing like the Black Panthers kind of being everywhere, right? So, now we're at 2018. This is literally the last film, was this Black Panther film. Overall, if I look at it, it's been up and down. I mean, I have to say it's really spread out in terms of how we view the Black Panthers, what their truth is. I don't know if any of the films have really touched on it in a significant way where we could say we walked away from it knowing anything. I will always go back to the Mario Van Peebles film initially, the documentary, and even looking at how they were projected in like this whole Forrest Gump scenario. It's a lot coming at you about a small group of people. I'm still repping my Freddie Hampton, so I'm still trying to stay in alignment with what they did. But understanding how the mythology of the Black Panthers has changed over time can tell us a lot more about where the country is and how we actually feel about these significant characters. So I'm going to shut this down. Obviously, you guys can go back and check this out on the channel. It'll be up on my YouTube. And then I'll cut this into some smaller, kind of more digestible pieces for y'all. And I look forward to the next piece. I'll probably be talking about, or I will be getting back into talking about The Wheel of Time later on today. So I'll probably be live with that in a couple hours. Otherwise, I'm going to grab some lunch and I'll see you guys all soon. Thank you for stopping in. As always,